AJ?
Hello, Alan.
Hey, AJ. How you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Good. I wanted to thank you for taking some time this afternoon to join us on the Music on the Menu podcast. For those tuning in for the first time, I started doing these a couple of days ago during COVID-19. What I'm trying to do is touch base with people involved with the local music scene from northeastern Pennsylvania, get an idea of A, how they're doing personally, and B, how this is affecting them professionally. So on the line with us today, Mr. AJ Jump, renowned drummer from northeastern Pennsylvania, has played in a great band, the Underground Saints, another terrific band, King Radio. Listeners of my show should be very familiar with those artists. Also, AJ plays with Joe Burke, another guy that we play on the show all the time. And he is the owner and general manager of Carl Hall in Wilkes-Barre, a terrific music venue. So, AJ, welcome. Thanks for getting on the line, buddy.
Thanks for the introduction, Alan, and appreciate it.
First of all, what I do when I'm talking to people during these podcast interviews, AJ, is we're going to talk about how this is affecting life for musicians, for people like yourself that run music venues. But I like to begin every conversation with, how are you doing? We're about a month into this now. Are you okay? Everybody in your family getting through this all right?
Yeah, we're fine here. It's been a little bit more of a challenge for some. Me personally, it's been fine. Some members of my family have been more challenging with pre-existing conditions and things like that. But all in all, everybody's been okay so far.
Good. That's glad. I'm glad to hear that. I personally don't know anyone that has tested positive for COVID-19 yet, but looking at the numbers in northeastern PA, it's yesterday it was over 1,600. So it's out there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I personally have. I know people that have passed away already and have had it as well. So, yeah, I've had it and recovered. But yeah, unfortunately, the folks that passed away, they were up into their late 80s, early 90s, and did contract it, unfortunately, and they're not with us. The folks that have had it and recovered, one younger person and one middle-aged person. So,
yeah, I'm really sorry. My condolences.
Yeah. It's in particular, they both lived long, good lives. But it's just unfortunate that this is what had to take them.
Yeah, because maybe they would have had a couple more years. So.
Exactly.
Hey, for those listening to the podcast, AJ and I have known each other for about 15 years now, and AJ and I are working together on a benefit show for Brett Alexander, which was supposed to have happened last weekend. And so AJ and I have kind of gone through the process of postponing an event together, which we had to do about a month ago, right around the time when everything was being postponed. But for you, AJ, that was one event that I was working on, and the decision was pretty simple. Everybody was postponing everything, and we postponed the event that you and I are working on. But take us back to that same week when you, as the general manager of a busy music venue, had to really postpone. How many shows did you have to postpone? Take us back to that week and how that went for you.
March was really heavy for us. Not only shows, but there were also private events being held. In the week that we stopped having shows, we were hosting our a group the week of St. Patrick's Day called Dreams of Freedom. They are from Ireland. They come in every year and they do a great show, and people really enjoy them. And that was the last show that played at Carl Hall. And moving forward, we're well over 40 shows postponed.
Oh my goodness.
And that's into June, in through June. I mean, nothing is going to play as of right now. We're prepared not to have anything play till at least July, but it may be longer than that from some of the things that I'm gathering and being told, and also, the major concert industry is going to take a larger hit, and there's some pretty heavy reports out there that the major concert industry is going to sort of be, and sports as well, maybe sidelined until we see a vaccine. So we're talking about a year, if longer. Mayor Cuomo of New York City just came out yesterday and said that too. There's gatherings of 5, 10, 20,000. That is not happening anytime soon. And it's just so the position that we're in, we do gatherings of 50 plus. That's still, I think when this all comes back, it's not going to be a light switch. They're not just going to say, all right, everybody go back to normal. Bars, you're going to see bars still be sidelined because it's a place where many people gather, and places like myself. And, I think restaurant dining rooms are going to be limited to maybe, not reopen or, very, very limited. I also work in the funeral industry with Mark Keisinger, and right now he's still having small services, but he's limited to have just a small amount of less than 10 people. He is limited to for someone to bury their loved ones, and it's just the way it has to be. They're not allowed to have any church services, no full viewings. And, it's just outside at the grave site, or, an outside sort of short ceremony. Some people are staying in their cars, distancing that way. So it is very different, and I think we're still quite a long ways before any sort of mass gatherings, 50 plus, can happen, and as they're seeing in other countries that open back up, that tried to, it's just, there's new cases. So
that's what makes it so difficult, I think, for someone like yourself, because I'm sure you've postponed shows before because the van broke down, or there was a blizzard, or somebody in the band was sick, and they call you up a day or two before the show, or maybe even, the morning of the show, and say, hey, we can't play tonight. And you pick another date. You
sure.
say, okay, well, when could you come back? And you announce to the fans of that band and those that bought tickets, hey, we're postponing, but we'll be back 2-3 weeks down the road, hopefully. And you can't do that now. No one's really sure what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've had groups, a couple only come to me and say, hey, can we reschedule this? And I'm sure we can, but I'm not going to give you a date right now because I don't know.
Right.
I can't tell you. I'm not going to be certain and give you any sort of date. One, and two, I don't book 6 or 8 months in advance. I'm usually 3 to 5 months, 5 months max, because so much happens on the smaller level too. So I usually book about 3 months out. That's around our general average. So, I'm not booking anybody for October right now, because there is still too much uncertainty. Until I know certainly, and local, state and national government comes out and says, we kind of have an idea of where this is going, and but the only information that I've been hearing personally from folks that I trust in the world, brilliant minds, is they're saying mass gatherings are going to be probably not a thing till there is a cure or vaccination. So
And, AJ, I said this to Brett Alexander 2 days ago on our podcast and Jimmy Harnan yesterday. Even when you're given the green light, when we are, it's going to be interesting to see how the American people initially respond. Is everybody going to be rushing right out? Is it going to be, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to go out to Citi Field or Citizens Bank Park or Yankee Stadium or Montage Mountain and be around 15,000 people like, boom, as soon as we're told it's okay to do that? Or are people going to be like, well, let me see how this goes for a little while first? And so maybe even when permission is granted, people hold back for a little while. And for a promoter, that's a concern too.
That's gonna, again, that's gonna, I believe, come in stages. Like it's gonna go in stages. Like it went down in stages. First they said gatherings of 1,000, and then quickly they said gatherings of 500. Then quickly they said 100, then 50, then 10.
It went down to 10 within a couple of days, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But I think going back to it, it's going to be way more gradual. They're going to say, under 30 or 50 till, there are no reported cases. And then from there, they're going to take baby steps, maybe 2 weeks or a month and say 1,000, and then another 2 weeks or a month and say, all right, we could fully open. It's not going to be a light switch. It's just, so we're definitely going to be able to. I think so, telling by numbers wise, but we're going to be able to reopen and play before the Kirby Center or the arena.
Sure, sooner than some of the larger venues.
Yeah, but as far as how that all plays itself out, I don't know, and like what and where is that cap going to be? I mean, if our average shows, some shows could be, a total of 40 people, and some shows could be 120, 140. So, if one person in there was exposed and there's 90 people there, well, guess what? Now 90 people are exposed. That's a lot of people that will then turn 90 into 180 really fast.
Really
and we
fast.
saw that happen. So even at my level, it's still very dangerous till it's gone, till it's, till they've been able to handle it and people have been already exposed. And, I think that the key to this is hopefully they get an antibody test to where you can see if you were already exposed or you already had it and you didn't even know. And then when they get that number higher, but there's still,
we've got a long way to go.
Long way to go. And there's so many people talking about this general subject that we still don't know. But
let's talk about some of the positives because you've been able to do some creative things with Carl Hall. You've been partnering with some regional artists, doing live streams through the venue, sharing web links and so forth. Talk to us about some of the folks you've worked with and how that's gone for you. It seems like it's something that everybody's kind of enjoyed doing, in this time.
Yeah, I mean, the last several weeks, we started as Carl Hall. We just started posting different artists who have played at Carl Hall or will be performing, in the future.
Like your alumni, sure.
Yeah, and like I said, there was even one in there, Adam Elk of a great '90s group called Mommy Heads. He's from New York City currently right now, but they were scheduled to play in June. It's most likely not happening, but he sent in a video, and folks like Joe Burke and Ed Zaleski and Bob Lewis, who's currently now in Nashville, originally from this area, and
Ellie Rose. I know. I watched the Ellie Rose one. That was a good one. Yeah, it's been cool to see you doing that.
Yeah, and Ben Walsh at Tiger's Jaw. He's living in Philadelphia now, originally from the Scranton area. So all different guys just and ladies and gentlemen have been sending me videos, and I've just been posting them up and say, hey, check this artist out. These are the folks that play at Carl Hall. And then, in turn of that, also in the midst of that, Mike Lello and myself, Mike very well, we started just a little video blog.
I saw you and Mike talking about the top influential metal albums the other day. That was fantastic. I enjoyed watching you guys talk about metal. That was very cool.
Yeah, just something short and sweet that, something different, and just, putting our, opinions about, metal band influences. And we're going to continue to do that too, and have other people on and just talk for 10 or 15 minutes. We're doing that, and that's going to be really fun through Highway 81 Revisited. And then now there'll be more information in the other endeavor that kind of came up. Mohegan Sun Arena and Carl Hall are partnering together with guys.
I saw there's going to be an announcement on Monday. Can you talk about that yet, or do we need to wait for Monday on that? Because if we need to wait for Monday, I'll totally respect that. I won't push you.
Yeah,
we have Will coming on doing one of these podcasts next week.
Beautiful.
So
he could. Will will be able to elaborate more. Well, we're waiting on Monday to spread the hard word on that, but that's going to be great. It's called NEPA Live from Home, and it's going to be really cool. And I'm really excited about that. And basically, Will called me up a couple of weeks ago and said, I think this is a good opportunity right now for the big guy to work with the small guy and really make something positive for the community. So that's where we're at
listening, now. Will Beekman, former executive director of the FM Kirby Center and currently at Mohegan Sun Arena, and just a great guy who's really done great things for music locally. That's who AJ is referring to. I think most people know, but just make sure everybody knows who we're talking about. So Will reached out to you, and that's going to be announced on Monday.
Yep, absolutely.
AJ, talk about life as a musician right now. We've talked mostly about you as a venue manager in Carl Hall, but you play all the time. Have you been talking to your fellow musicians? Obviously, no clubs, no gigs, no work. Has any of the government relief that could help a 9-to-5 worker benefited a working musician? Are you guys getting help from the federal government right now?
Basically, I've been talking to a lot of different guys. I was on the phone with Mark Marshall the other day. He's originally from NEPA, but also he is a 100% working musician living in New York City. It's tough times right now. Fortunately for him, a lot of his stuff was on the books, which is good. Some musicians are in a different boat, depending on how their tax returns were, that sort of thing.
Right.
is what they're going to see. Me personally, I'm a drummer. I'm a songwriting contributor, but I'm not a songwriter and I'm not a lead singer. So my work comes from teaching, playing live, and studio drumming. So obviously studios are closed down. Trying to do some Skype lessons, but I've been in the midst of a lot of this other stuff. I'm going to start that up once some of this other stuff gets rolling. I've been focused on that, but I've been personally playing a lot, practicing a lot. But for me, as far as monetarily, I also, as a drummer, realized a couple years back when certain gigs were getting certain ways, going certain directions, the general work was kind of turning more into just solo acoustic people. I just had to make do with that situation. I started teaching more, which is great, and that's, like I said, something that I'm going to implement a little bit more.
You work with Joe Nardone, right? With up at the
and
School of Rock.
Yep, and I'm going to be implementing more lessons, depending on how much longer this goes for. And as far as live playing, we're far out from that. Studio stuff, That's unless you have a studio set up personally and could send the files via email. That's tough. There's no, I can't do that. I know some guys. Kevin Safira, great drummer from the Lehigh Valley.
Sure, okay.
He's been doing that. John Graboff, great pedal steel player who lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico now. Originally in New York City. I played in King Radio with him. He's been doing a lot of studio work as well.
So you can record your drum tracks at home and then send that file to somebody. If they're doing multi-track recording, they could layer on top of that way.
Yes, some people are able to do that. Unfortunately, I don't have the setup to do that. Other people do. Good friend Pat Finnerty has been doing an Instagram live show called the Pat Finnerty Show, and he's been, recording a different tune every day. Some karmic relief to it, and that's been really cool too. He's got his setup going, and that's been fun. So people
are getting creative. People are getting creative with this,
Absolutely. So it's and I just talked to good buddy and Mule Team bandmate Roy Williams this morning, where he said he's never been so busy, recording some music and doing recording projects himself right now. So that. Mark Marshall said the same. He's been really busy with teaching and recording as well. So, there are some guys getting on. Me personally, I had a morning gig that was flexible, that I'm able to get, some unemployment from, which is great. And I also work for Kaisinger Funeral Services too. Mark Kaisinger, a bass player that I played with for many years, recorded many tracks with different albums over the years. We still have to.
I always tell Mark Kaisinger, AJ. I always tell Mark Kaisinger he's the best left-handed bass player in the world. Sorry, Paul McCartney.
Yeah. But people. Brett's quote was great the other day. Musicians are like sharks. They have to keep swimming.
Or they
have to keep moving. So, that's the way I looked at it too. I can't just sit in the corner and say, hey, there's nothing for me to do, You just gotta be creative.
Your band, the Mule Team, which you just referred to, that was a band that you were just starting to get going over the last year or so. It's one of your newer projects. So, you guys are staying in touch, and you'll be out gigging again when this is over. Something to look forward to.
100%. I just talked to JP Biondo, Chris Carney, and Roy Williams in the last 24 hours, and we'll be back. Of course, it's been so much fun to play with those guys. They've all been in serious bands. They all get it. They all are incredible at what they do in their own right. Hara as well. He's the bass player in that group. Some of us have day gigs, and others like JP and Roy are 100% musicians. And they're trying to figure out other ways too as well. Like I explained, and you just have to, and there is some relief, that's for sure. But people are going to find a way to keep on.
I think at the studios, AJ, usually if you're in the studio, sometimes with the drummer, particularly the rest of the band might not even be there. Everybody's not always even there at the same time in a band when you're doing tracks. Sometimes the bass player comes in and works with the producer, the engineers. So, usually in a smaller setting there, even if the whole band is there and the producer and the engineer, you're talking about 6-7 people tops. So I'm hoping that the studios could probably be one of the businesses that could open. Soon. I know you do a lot of work with Brett at Saturation and with Paul Smith down at 8 days a week. We have great studios here like SI and Old Forge and some others. So, I'm hoping that those are businesses that could probably get back to business. They'd be among the first that you would think would be given the green light, places like that.
Yeah, I think we'll see, especially with the downtime now and the uncertainty. I think when there's more certainty and I definitely think those situations will be able to open back up again. Definitely first. I think you're going to see a lot of albums being recorded. That work will still happen. And then private lessons will go back on because there is distancing there, and you're only private lessons, you're only with one other student. And like you said, in the studio, most of the time, at most, there's like you said, 6 or 7 people, an engineer, a producer, and then 4 or 5 guys in a band. So, you'll be able to see stuff like that. Also, I truly feel that one thing, because major concerts can't play, what we're going to see here is bigger theaters or places like SIR, which is, for people that aren't familiar, they are a company. Well, they're all over the country now, all over the world, I think now. I think they're even in London and Australia, but I'm not positive about that. But they're all over the United States, New York, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Austin, Texas, Chicago. They rent gear to, traveling professional musicians and big tours and colleges. And they also rent rehearsal spaces for smaller to mid-level, bigger tours to rehearse. And I think what you're going to see is maybe theater spaces like the Kirby Center or places like SAR renting their spaces out to bands where they could come in, the band members and, 3 members, 4 members maybe of their crew, and they're going to record a live show and put it out there for people to buy and watch. Phish started it years ago. Obviously, it was, a couple different camera angles, and you bought it on pay-per-view for, I can't remember if it was $10 or $20, and people would have, watch parties and stuff. But I think with major concerts and festivals not being able to play till there is a vaccine, I think we're going to see that happen when things are slowly able to come back a little bit. Yeah, I think that
part of the slow ease back. Yeah,
exactly. They'll be able to have just the band, and engineer and the crew be able to put the gear together, and they'll be able to play a live show on a fast internet stream and with 1 or 2 camera angles, and for the time being that'll be great. If that's able to happen, that can definitely fill a small void of still being able to see some really cool live music happening.
AJ, my last question for you, and I'm going to make this easy for you. Now, you mentioned Mike Lello before. Mike and I go back more than 20 years. We worked together at the Times Leader and then at the Weekender. And then Mike, as you mentioned, started the Highway 81 Revisited website and Facebook page. So he's still, he's just a great connoisseur of music and source for music. And I'm a big fan of Mike's writing and what he does. And I enjoyed watching you guys kick around the metal tunes the other day. The thing about you is, one thing I've always found interesting about you with music is you're probably 15 years younger than I am. And your tastes are so wide. You could sit there and talk to somebody about Pantera and John Prine, and so I'm going to make this easy for you. Mike asked you for your top 5 most influential metal albums. I'm going to make it so easy for you. Let's say you're quarantined for another year and you can't go outside, which we know isn't going to happen. What 5 artists? I'll give you 5 artists. These are the only 5 artists you can listen to for the next year.
That's not an easy question, but
it's easy. All right, you're right. It's not.
gun to my head really fast, and I'm sure I'm missing some folks on here. The Beatles and John Coltrane. As far as I would now, not now, but just in general, John Prine, because he has so many great things to say, and it's just such a pleasure to listen to. Radiohead, they'd be 4, and I think this is a tough one, but it would be I don't know. The fifth slot could be a large tie, maybe.
I'll give you the tie.
Billie Holiday, Ray Charles, and The Roots. gotta have some hip hop in there. So those three, I think, as a three-way tie for fifth. But those would be.
Have it.
Yeah, those would be my people.
AJ jumps quarantine top 5 with a couple extras. Hey man, thanks for checking in with us today. I'm glad that you're getting through this all right. We look forward to, you and I will be in touch about banding together for Brett, obviously. Same boat as everybody else with that. As soon as we know we could do the show, we'll let everybody know when the show is going to be on. But we're kicking around. We have a date on hold, but we don't want to announce it in case it's not going to, we want to make sure, just like you said, with all those shows at Carl Hall, you don't want to announce it and have to postpone it again. So
absolutely, that's
kind of where we're at. But great to hear from you.
Thank you again,
all the best, and we'll get the word out on Monday too. We'll help with the Music on the Menu page and talking to Will about what you guys are going to be announcing on Monday. We look forward to hearing about it.
All right, thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. Be safe.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Bye now.